The pressure is building here on Mother Earth, and that's because there is big magic waiting in the wings that's going to require big action from us here. And this is all happening the first week of December 2025, with the holidays ramping up everything, our emotions, our time crunch, all the feels start pouring in. And whenever that happens, we need to take a look up at the stars to get our bearings and find our balance again. And this week brings a desperately needed shift to a more energy of healing. And that happens at the end of the week. But so this week, big transits and a big moon are shifting things on a global scale. Hi, I'm Beth Hansen, and I'm a true sidereal astrologer, and I help shiny people like you weave this magic of the stars with the power of Mother Earth to stay grounded and live your best life. We begin with Venus moving into Scorpio from Libra, and then it's followed by a full moon in Taurus, complete with a grand square cross. And the sun, it's moving out of Scorpio and into Ophiuchus, the 13th sign. So I do astrology based on the constellations and not as signs locked into an outdated seasonal system. Which has me wondering, what does the sun in Ophiuchus, the 13th sign, mean to you? So think about that as I go through this week's astrology, where I will go through what's happening in the real sky and how you can bring that star magic down to Mother Earth every single day. The universe is conspiring in your favor, and I'll show you exactly how right now. Welcome, my friends, my star peeps, to this weekly recording. I am recording this live in the Zodiac Club 13, and it is free to join the community. And there's a few little lessons in there in the classroom, and you get connected to a whole bunch of people. So I encourage everybody who's watching this later on YouTube to go ahead and join the community. For December 1st through 7th, here are our charts. On the left-hand part of the screen, we have the chart here for the 1st and then the 7th. And yes, I have a dragon here. And yes, it's like, oh my goodness, because this full moon in Taurus is not playing around. Venus will be transiting into Scorpio from where it starts here, and the sun will be transiting into Ophiuchus this week. So those are the two really big transits. And yeah, this is a very fast-paced, bumpy road time of year. Once we get past through the long trek through Virgo, things just get into all the deep stuff once we hit November. Before you know it, we're all the way through Libra and now into Scorpio. And so that's why this full moon especially is a big deal. But don't worry, I've got you. We are going to go through this day by day. Monday, December 1st. This is calling us for some deep soul driven action because the sun in Scorpio is T square our lunar nodes. We have the north node in Rahu, also known as Caput Draconis. It's the head of the dragon in Aquarius. And our south node is in Leo, also known as Ketu or Cauda Draconis for the Latin of that. And because it's called a T square, it means that it is squaring off against both of those. Basically, the sun is grabbing on and deciding, say, hey, it's shaking the nodes, it's shaking our galactic world tree and lighting up this need to take action for humanity on behalf of that north node energy and shedding ego on that south node energy, because that Leo stuff is all about ego, and to embrace Jupiter in Gemini, because Jupiter is in Gemini holding on to this grand trine and has been doing so for week after week after week, holding on to the energy, holding on to everybody here in Pisces, our old timers, our friends Saturn and Neptune with their deeper wisdom and lessons, and in Libra with Black Moon Lilith, Mercury, and Venus starting the week here are all creating this overlapping, intertwined grand trine. Were you paying attention in the beginning of the video? Because the question of the day is, what does the sun moving into Ophiuchus this week mean to you right now? And if you want to know more about True Sidereal Astrology, just click the link below and you can grab my free PDF, Unlock the New Zodiac, direct to your inbox. So be sure to comment how you're feeling about Ophiuchus while you're down there. But the one who's holding steady is that Jupiter, and he's currently in retrograde, saying, okay, you still haven't done everything you can do with this energy. So there's a lot happening here. So it's time for us to get clear on that big picture, but not making any big moves yet because we are still refining it. And so that's why for Monday, the journal step is journal what you are releasing and share it with one trusted person in your soul tribe. Because that sun in Scorpio is bringing things up, and Mars in Ophiuchus is trine Chiron, which is also conjunct our moon in Pisces. So we are really feeling it here with a lot of energy around healing, because Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer. It is the wounded healer, and Mars is the warrior. So this wounded warrior is getting healing, extra healing, as it travels through Ophiuchus and partners with us and gives us energy and gives us more of that trine. And at the same time, we have that action oriented square, and then we have the grand trine, which is all about flow. We have some long term action going here with the outer planets. This has been going on for a while, this little triangle basket here between Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And Pluto is currently sextile Venus in Libra. Pluto is in Capricorn at 1 degree. We are a long, long way from getting to that point where it's in Aquarius. So I've got a whole video on that. And so check out my YouTube for the whole video on how to work with Capricorn during its transit, during Pluto's transit. So now Tuesday, we step into our second day of the week. This is where we are seeking that clarity from within, because Venus is entering Scorpio on this day. The moon is in Aries and is trine K2 in Leo. So we've got fire and water with the moon happening here as it's waxing towards the sun energy. And that K2 is having to do with our roots and that tail of the dragon. Mars in Ophiuchus is square the North Node in Aquarius. So we still have a lot of energy around. So Mars in Ophiuchus is square Saturn in Pisces, saying, okay, here's the lesson. What are you going to do about it? And then ongoing energies. Let's read what's on here. This Venus transit brings a focus on deeper layers of intimacy, shared resources, and transformation within relationships. And this waxing moon in Aries is bringing some emotional fire to matters of our collective karma. Uranus is sending codes to Venus and Black Moon Lilith via opposition to strengthen the divine feminine for all of our souls here on earth. And your action step for this day is fire. Light a candle to release old programming. Soften your sight as you gaze into the candle and listen from your heart. Candle gazing is also known as scrying. Wednesday, December 3rd, this is where we start feeling that kundalini start to rise because the moon in Taurus is opposing Black Moon Lilith in Libra, and we have grand trines with the Saturn in Pisces, Jupiter in Gemini, all connecting with that Black Moon Lilith. This primal creation flow is structured with spiritual growth. As yesterday's divine feminine codes come online, because Mars in Ophiuchus is square Saturn in Pisces and trine Chiron in Pisces. So while optimism is still tempered because Jupiter is in retrograde, the power of the winds of change are sure to be felt and heard in social discourse. Expect the unexpected because we are at this time for that. But what we do have is a grand trine kite with our friend Black Moon Lilith at the tail, because we've got the opposition on this one, and the moon at the top. So the moon is sextile Saturn, and that's hitting Black Moon Lilith, and that's hitting Jupiter, and that's coming back and hitting the moon. So yeah, we do have a kite. That's why I put the kite up there. All right, Mars takes action to restructure while bringing healing flow to the serpent bearer. Kundalini energy is on the rise globally, and this is Wednesday, December 3rd. People are starting to be activated. We've all been activated big time over the past year or so. This year has been a big one for humanity. And I've got my little rainbow action step here because this is where you want to create an altar or a shelf or some sacred space that you can go to over the next few days to represent the elements of earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. And you want, if you can do this before you go to bed on Wednesday, that's all the better. So you can wake up to it on Thursday. So do that, and or go ahead and do your full moon ritual on Wednesday night, because the moon gets full at around 4:19 Central daylight time here in the Northern Hemisphere. And so you want to have an emphasis on unifying your energy from your crown chakra to your root chakra, everything balanced by the heart chakra. And believe me, you will thank me the next day. You will thank me on Thursday. If you do this Wednesday night, Thursday will be a lot better for you because Thursday gets intense, because that's when we have our full moon and a grand square. The full moon in Taurus is opposite the sun in Scorpio. Rahu in Aquarius is opposite Ketu in Leo. And those guys are all squared up against each other. So we've got the full moon in Taurus creating a T square with the nodes. We've got the sun in Scorpio creating a T square with the nodes, Rahu and Ketu. Black Moon Lilith is opposite Uranus. And the Taurus full moon, it's reflecting that power of the sun's revelations from deep, deep, deep in Scorpio. This is forming that grand square with Rahu in Aquarius and Ketu, which is igniting the cross of matter, because I will show you that in the next slide. Because as the sun sets in North America, the moon is rising, and that's putting Rahu, the north node, at midheaven, and Ketu, the south node, at the nadir, the bottom of the sky, the Imam Cheli. So we have, here we go. This is it. This is that square that I'm talking about. And I don't know why I had it selected to have the ascendant have the square, but that's fine as well, because that's just pointing to the fact that we are within just a few degrees. The ascendant, we are within that 3. So Aquarius is air above with the north node. That is the head of the dragon, Kappa Draconis. Leo, we have Ketu. That is the Vedic term for the tail of the dragon. The Latin term is Cauda Draconis. And then on either side, we've got the moon rising in the east and the sun setting in the west. And remember, this is at 4:11 Central Daylight Time, because I am smack dab in the middle of the North American continent, because I'm in southwestern Minnesota, and everything is all around me. Okay. I am in flyover country. I am, we're south of Canada. So Aquarius air above, Leo fire below, Taurus earth rising in the east, water setting in the west in Scorpio. The cross of matter is the cross of manifestation here on earth. This is representing literally earth. The cross of matter, if you see a circle with a cross, that is the sigil for Earth. With Black Moon Lilith in Libra, she is actually leading the sun into the descent. And at the same time, Uranus is leading the moon to ascend above that horizon line. So the Uranus is saying it's time to embody your new codes, while Black Moon Lilith is saying it's time to dive deep and do what you need to do. So I'm going to say grab your screenshot of this, because you're going to want to hang on to this to put onto that altar I talked about yesterday, or for yesterday, because having this on your altar will help you set up, whether it's a crystal grid or candles for those 4 quarters. It's up to you, because this is check and mate. Black Moon Lilith is breaking the code and rewriting the script of a new heaven and a new earth, with the help of Uranus, by the way. And it's real world stuff. Now, Uranus is in retrograde at this time, so some of its power is being held in reserve at this point, saying, okay, we're going to rework some of this stuff. And Black Moon Lilith is saying, hey, let's just go ahead and rewrite everything right now. So a little bit of give and take there. So your action step is if you didn't do Wednesday's action step, do it ASAP. Okay. Every adventure has its challenges, but help is right at your fingertips. Every seeker begins under the same sky. The call of the stars whispering through the branches of night. You follow the light deeper into the forest of the unseen, and there a guide appears. A golden invitation. Your entry to Zodiac Club 13, secret celestial lounge, where the night hums with magic, candles flicker, stars shimmer, and your place is waiting. Welcome to the party, where mystics, dreamers, and star lovers gather to celebrate the real sky. Inside, visionaries study the cosmos, hands trace constellations as they truly are, and weave their stories through the cards of destiny. Here, wisdom flows like starlight, every spark a new awakening. You found your circle. Zodiac Club 13, the midnight lounge for seekers of the real sky, filled with 13 signs and timeless magic. So click the link below and join all the cool kids in the Skool Club. And if you would like some one-to-one cosmic clarity from me to you, there's a link for that too. I would love to connect with you. Now let's see where the stars are taking us from here. So let's move on to how this is going to play out for the rest of the week. Friday, December 5th, game over, upgrade in progress. Literally, because we have that opposition of Black Moon Lilith, now we have an opposition with Mercury as well. So we have the two broadcasters, the big broadcaster of Uranus from the outer limits in the realm of Taurus is broadcasting directly to and through Mercury, making all these things very immediate. Now, Mercury just came out of retrograde, so he's been, retracing his steps until he gets to the place he was, and I believe it's about 5 degrees in Scorpio before fully moving forward. So all this reprogramming is happening with Mercury, and this is a yod. That's right. We have a yod. A yod is the finger of God, goddess, universe, whatever. Mercury in Libra, Uranus in Taurus is pulling the trigger, while Chiron, retrograde in Pisces, and the moon in Taurus are sextile, creating that creative spark that's needed. Now, quincunxes are releases, and when two quincunxes come to a point and there's an opposition involved and all this is involved, bam. Yeah. Who's being triggered? How we conduct ourselves in the social sphere, how we learn about it, and how we find our balance with the dark and the light, especially since while she's not at the point of this, she is within 5 degrees of Mercury. That black moon Lilith is gonna have a thing or two to say on this, but she's still holding the reins of our collective karma dragon. That's still going on. The sun still has got that firmly by the reins. And we do have another T square here with Saturn being T square with Mars and the moon this time. And the moon is also square Uranus on Friday, December 5th. So, yeah, she's holding the reins to the dragon. She is riding the dragon. She wrote it yesterday. She's writing it today. And I'm talking about Black Moon Lilith. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And the moon energy is getting that extra push from Neptune to release all of this healing so a conversation can begin. So, yeah, they're in on this yod. Our big teacher and our big dreamer are both in on this yod. The architect, Saturn, and the dreamer in Pisces are in on the yod with, and because, Pisces is a really big sign, it's connecting to the yod itself through Chiron, which is also in retrograde. So healing conversations can begin now. Your action step is to share a healing moment with a friend, group, or just your dog, but speak it into being out loud and know that Lilith will help you find the words. And this is so we can navigate this collective karma that is triggering all these upgrades that we've been getting. And then Saturday, this is where the intuitive learning comes in because our moon moves into Gemini and it is trine Rahu and sextile Ketu. So it's creating the compost with Ketu so something beautiful can grow from community in Rahu. It is so wonderful. There's a creative flow and it's soothing our jagged nerves as the moon connects to the lunar nodes, and you can lighten your grip as reality shifts by allowing those new ideas to grow from the compost of the past. Oh, and Mercury is trine Jupiter still. It's part of that whole milieu of the overlapping trines. But now we just have Jupiter trine to Saturn by itself and not to Neptune. So it's 1, 2, and then we've got triple stuff going on with Neptune and Mercury. So yeah, there's still Neptune on the back end connecting with Jupiter, but it is through Black Moon Lilith and through Mercury. Now for Saturday, Saturn's Day, action step is that Saturn has a lesson for your legacy because Mars in Ophiuchus is powering your emotional work when guided by spirit. So here it just so happens when we look at Saturn, it is currently in the first house. But if we're looking at how many houses is Mars away from Saturn, it is in the 10th house, the house of legacy. So it doesn't matter what time of day it is. That is the ratio of the distance that it is when we count counterclockwise. That's how we count our houses. So it is the 10th house away. And so it is saying, hey, that anything in that 10th house, to be honest, is having to do with legacy. And that includes that sun and even that Venus. Now, the next day this is the day, Sunday, December 3rd, the sun enters Ophiuchus based on the midpoint method. Now, if you've been following along in the sky, it looks like, according to the International Astronomical Union's boundaries, it's been in there for a few days days already. But we need to give a little bit more equality here because they do reside pretty much on the ecliptic, one above the other. But Ophiuchus is a larger sign than Scorpio, but Scorpio's intense and it packs a real punch. It really does. So now we've got the sun at 0 degrees of Ophiuchus, and it's still T squared the nodes. So that shifts the energy of the nodes from the pulling up of the deep mysteries to shedding what no longer serves you so you can be ready to be reborn by the end of this journey. And that's what Mars is doing right now. And so with Venus and Scorpio, T square the lunar nodes as well. She grabbed hold of her own reins and is saying, hey, I'm shaking the tree of life. So yes, the leaves are flying, they're scattering around because those are leads that they need to go. Maybe there's some seeds that need to be let go of so they can plant themselves and grow. So with the sun, which has been keeping that tight hold on the nodes all week long, goading humanity to do better and to take care of its karma, today he's entering Ophiuchus. And Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they are still stirring in the deeper currents of revolution, spirituality, and societal change. But the moon is square Chiron as it joins Jupiter in our multi-layered trine of air and water. Chaos and balance, optimism and discipline. And your action step for Sunday is to journal about your feelings that you went through this week. Just reflect on it and let those words flow into your own personal story of transition, transmutation, of downloading those codes and what you might think they mean for you. And you can look back on this journal. Now, writing in a journal is true magic. It engages more parts of your brain than typing it on a computer or recording an audio of it. It takes a lot of work, but it slows down your mind, which is very good because your mind might be whirling at this point, and we want you to be able to slow down and integrate everything that's been happening this week. And Sunday is a great day for that reflection. And with that, I am going to Okay, now you know why this big magic is requiring action and how to get ready for it this week. You might be wondering how to ride the dragon karma of the lunar nodes in True Sidereal Astrology. Well, I've got you covered because when you combine what you just learned with what's in this video right up here, it takes your star power to a whole new level. So blessed be, namaste, and all that jazz. And I will see you in the next video. And remember, the universe is always conspiring in your favor.